When you look at the left hand side of your character sheet, you will see 6 boxes. These are your ability scores. You have strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom and charisma. But what do they mean and what do they do for your character? In this episode of Let's Take Initiative, I'm going to be explaining that to you, so hopefully when you make your next character, they'll be a bit more confident. So let's kick this episode off where I'll use my help action to help you. The higher the ability score, the higher the modifier, and the higher the modifier, the better you are at it. So let's go down the list and actually break down what each one means. Your strength is, well, how strong you are. If you want to push a boulder out of the way of something or knock down an enemy, strength is what you want to have. Most martial based classes like your fighter or your barbarian will want to have a really high strength so they can lift all the weapons and start clashing with people. Your athletic skill comes from your strength. So again, if you want to be quite athletic, you also want good strength. Dexterity is your ability to be light on your feet. So if you're trying to balance across something, or you just want to be quite stealthy, this is the one for you. It can affect things like your stealth, your sleight of hand, or even your acrobatics. Things like your rangers and your rogues, they tend to use finesse weapons and ranged weapons. Both them types of weapons will use dexterity rather than strength. Constitution is your overall bodily function. You know, if you want to hold your breath or resist fatigue, Constitution is the one for you. It also applies to your overall hit points, so the higher your Constitution, typically the more health you will have. My players at the moment are going through rounds of Frost Maiden, where everything is cold and everything is icy. To be able to resist them, to be able to resist the icy effects, all my players are needing a high constitution. Things like your religion, your arcana, your nature, your investigation, your history, all falls under intelligence. Now intelligence is your book smarts. If you want a character who's more logical rather than just rushing quickly into battle, then intelligence is the one for you. Wisdom is all about how in touch you are with the world. It's how perceptive you are. Maybe you want to try and find out if somebody's lying to you, or maybe you want to be closer with a divinity like a god. Wisdom is where you want to be. Now in the immortal words of Matt Mercer, intelligence is what you know, wisdom is what you feel. Now for my favourite one, and the last one, charisma. Whether you want to be commanding, charming, or just plain confident, charisma is where you want to be. Remember, social encounters in Dungeons & Dragons can be just as dangerous as all the combat encounters, even having more consequences if you mess them up. So you definitely want somebody in your party who has good charisma. So now we know what the ability scores are, we just need to know how to get them. Now there's loads of different ways and we'll explain them all in later videos, but in this one we'll explain the more famous one, which is 4d6 take 1. It was made famous by a critical role, and it's probably the easiest one to explain anyways, so we'll use 4d6 take 1. So the way it works is you take 4d6, you roll them, the lowest one, you get rid of it. If it's a double, you know, you'll re-roll the 2 rolls. But you'll end up with 3d6. You add them together, there's your ability score, and you do that 6 times. It's as simple as that. That is how you get your ability scores, and then you just assign them to where you want them to be. Keep in mind though, depending on what race you want to be, that can affect your ability scores. For example, if you want to be a high elf, you'll get a +2 to your dexterity and a +1 to your intelligence. So always bear that in mind, that your race and even your feats could potentially affect your ability scores. So we now know what the ability scores are, and we know how we get the ability scores. But what about the ability score modifiers, the actual numbers you'll be adding on to each of your rolls? Well, that's easy. There's a really neat chart on page 13 of the Player's Handbook which actually tells you how to get each ability score modifier, but we'll explain it in this video for you as well. Essentially, if you have an ability score of 10, it's straight down the middle. It's not great, but it's not bad. So 10 gets a 0. There's nothing added to a 10. For every even number above 10, you'll get an extra 1. So 12 gets a +1, 14 gets a +2, 16 gets a +3, and so on and so forth. Now for every odd number below 10, you'll get a -1. So 9 is a -1, 7 is a -2, 5 is a -3, and so on. And that's essentially how it works. But that's it really for your ability scores. You now know what they do, how you get them, and how you get your modifiers. So go out, make your character with a bit more confidence, and I'll see you on the next episode of Let's Take Initiative.